And he's the patron saint of a happy death, because when he died, he was surrounded by Mary and Jesus, and you can't get a happier death than that. Can you understand why we celebrate this beautiful feast of Saint Joseph with such fervor and faith on this March 19th?
So we know that Saint Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland, but he's also or the apostle of Ireland, which I guess is a little different title, but I'm sure patron as well, but also the patron saint of Nigeria, which is interesting because I don't really think of Africa as having a large percentage of Christians, but it really depends on the country. But I did a little search here, and in Nigeria, I guess just under half of the people in Nigeria are Christian, slightly over half are Muslim. So it seems like it's kind of evenly divided, but around 12% of
Gotcha.
the country as a whole are Catholic. So which is because we do have, there are a lot of priests that come from Nigeria. I know we've had some at our church before. So
Okay. I think I'm like, from memory, what I thought I sent out in the way of agenda. I might have missed something. Does anybody else want to celebrate any anniversaries to speak of this week? I think we covered the main ones, at least from my perspective. Oh, I do have a picture. I do have a picture of St. Joseph's Band. Linda, do you have
oh
you know that picture? Should I show that picture to everybody?
yeah,
I
you
I
can't.
will I'll put it in my background.
No, that's a great picture. Yeah, I never knew my grandfather. My grandfather died like 25 years before I was born, which is always, yeah, it's just sad. And my dad barely knew him because my dad was really small when he passed away. But that band picture, I actually have one of the original copies, and it was because back then a lot of the pictures they would put them on the postcards. So I do have like several old pictures that, it's kind of like a picture postcard. And I know with all my family background, I probably have more pictures from the Hornings than anybody. I've been very fortunate with that. But yeah, that's a great picture. So my grandpa is Joe Horning. He's back second from the right. So yeah, that's a great picture. So the Leo, I think Leo might have been I think he's a cousin somehow, but a little bit more distant. But it's funny because when my dad was growing up, we would hear a lot of these names like May, that was a real common name in Randolph. Knapp was a common name. Wise, I don't know that I'm related to the Wises, but I know that they did marry into the Horning family. Um, Wygant, that one I don't. I knew Wygants when I was older, but as far as the Randolph connection, that one I'm not familiar with. And so the two men on the right, one seated and the one to the right, them I'm not sure. Klein was also somewhat of a popular name in Portage County too. So, but it's interesting because when I look at the picture of my grandfather, even though I never knew him, I just see a real striking similarity with my dad from pictures when he was younger too. But I loved this picture. Yeah, this is a great picture. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sister, do you
yeah,
know anything about St. Joseph's Church or anything like that?
I'm sorry.
Sister Margaret Mary, St. Joseph, or Linda, maybe you know more about St. Joseph's Church than anybody, right?
Some things, yeah, yeah. I think the church out there now that's either the fourth or the fifth. That's not the original church. I know that there was a couple that were. I know that there was at least one fire. I remember years, well, way before I was born. I guess that there was some feud within the parish, and I think it was. Oh, if I get this right, because I know that there's a saint. Is it Saint John Newman? And then I know that there's another saint with a very similar name, but I know that there was a saint. Well, he obviously became saint years after his death, but that it actually come out to the parish to kind of help settle the dispute. And I always thought that was really interesting. But yeah, we just have such a really long history connected with the parish. And it's interesting because I was just talking to Andy last night because our common ancestor, Georgia Margaretha, which is our third great grandparents, and then it would be second great grandparents for sister. We have so many generations born in that cemetery, and the only reason George wasn't buried there was because when him and his wife they had gone up to Minnesota, there was I think it was with the Homestead Act to help develop land. You could get a plot of land if you helped to develop it. His wife had died, and he was actually on his way back. He was going to come back to Randolph to live, but he died en route, and so they took him back to Minnesota, and he's buried there. But the Hornings, we have such a you know, with the church, and I've been to the rectory before gathering records. I've been in the school. I mean, it's, yeah, we have a really strong connection to the parish. I love going out there. So, and actually I had a cousin, my dad had a first cousin that passed away, I think it was last June, and I was actually out to his funeral, and then his daughter, who was special needs, there she, I think she lived to be in her early 50s, and then she passed away about the year before. So I, you know, as people are, so anyway, so I, you know, I do get out to the parish from time to time. So, but
Whose picture is that of the band? Did you do that, Linda?
did I? I
Yeah,
don't, no, I'm not sure, like, as far as like labeling the names, I don't know where that came from. I did not do that. The picture itself, you know, I need to mark down where I get these pictures. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. I'm not really sure where I got the original from. All I know is that I do have one of the originals. So I'm trying, my grandfather died in 34. He was, he was pretty young. I think he was like 37, 38. And, so I, you know, and I'm looking at that picture. I mean, he looks pretty young in the picture. I'm thinking maybe 20, 25 years old, if that. So I'm thinking this picture probably sometime circa early to mid 1920s. But as far as where the original came from, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But it's
is your father in that picture?
my dad. That's my grandpa.
I mean, your grandfather.
Yeah, so Joe Horning is he's in the back right, standing second from right. He had like a cornet. The Hornings were very musically talented, and I don't have any of the talent. It must have skipped me, but I love seeing these old pictures because for me that's kind of proof of it. And then my grandma, he married an alum, and she had a little bit of talent too, probably not as much as him, but yeah. So but yeah, so that's my dad's dad. That's my paternal grandfather is Joe Horning. So. And
Nice.
actually, another really interesting thing about Joe is because there was a Horning Wise Chevrolet, and he in Randolph, and he helped found it, and then after he died very young and somewhat suddenly, the Horning name was dropped, and there was a Wise. But years, probably, I don't know, maybe sometime in the 90s or so, there was a man, I think his name was like L.L. Miller. I'm not sure what the LL stood for. I love local history books, and he actually put together, he's had two or three history books with Portage County, Randolph, and Ravenna, Suffield, and all those. And he actually had like a little vignette, if you will, in there with Joe Horning and Joe Wise, who was his partner when they founded the car dealership. And actually now I think it's Sarchione, but the like I said, the Horning was dropped, but even Wise Chevrolet, I mean, that went probably, I don't know, 2010, 2015. I mean, it was around forever. But, you know, it was just real interesting to see like this little story in this, you know, local little book. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's my grandfather. I was really, and they had a nice little picture of my grandfather in there. It's not obviously not this picture because this was related to the cars. He worked real well with his hands, worked, you know, on motors. He was kind of the Mr. Fix-It, which is describes my dad to a T. So I could definitely, my dad got the musical talent, but also the just, you know, like mechanical knowledge and know-how from his dad too. So
Right?
yeah, very I love finding these stories and sharing them. So
Well, I love that picture too because somebody went to the trouble of labeling every person in there, and it's very rare that you have a group like that and you have everybody, captioned like that.
yeah, you're
I
really
did a
lucky.
pretty good job of that, but otherwise, you come across lots of photos with a group together. They are all associated, they have some connection together, yet you don't know how. So
Yeah, like I said, so
that's a great
some of
photo.
these, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said, I think it's a good photo. I thought of it, actually, I didn't think of it. Facebook reminded me of the fact that I had that picture of St. Joseph's when I started to search for Joseph, St. Joseph.
Oh, okay.
Came right out.